The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 teaser breakdown video. As I'm sure most of you know by now, HBO was set to reveal the premiere date right before the new episode of True Detective begun. Now, I know that all of us were hoping they would release a trailer at the same time, but unfortunately they did not. However, they did release another teaser for their final season, and this time it was a teaser for Winterfell. I don't know about you, but this one got me very excited. This one was filmed exclusively in the Crypts of Winterfell, and one thing that I noticed which I think is very interesting is we did not see Bran Stark in the teaser. We saw Jon, Sansa, and Arya along with their statues, but there was no sign of their brother Bran. That definitely piques my curiosity, but let's dive into the teaser and discuss some of the things that we did see. I did watch it 2 times before I started making the video, so please bear with me. I am still trying to piece together the information as we speak. There will most likely be some tinfoil ideas tossed around in the video as well, mainly because of how this teaser actually ended. Let's start at the very beginning. As you can see, the teaser begins with a shot of Jon Snow walking through the Crypts of Winterfell. One of the very first things we see is Jon walking past his mother Lyanna's statue. As Jon walks right past her statue, we can hear Lyanna tell Ned, "You have to protect him." Now, this part of the teaser did not really surprise me that much. We know that this has been a major part of Jon's story. The identity of Jon's mother has been kept a secret for a very long time, but over the past couple seasons, they have started to reveal exactly who Jon's parents are, which we know are Rhaegar and Lyanna. We also found out last season that they got married right before Jon was born, therefore this makes Jon a legitimate Targaryen and next in line for the Iron Throne. This was one of the biggest reveals in the television show to date, but Jon still doesn't have any idea who he truly is. Think about how many times Jon may have actually walked past Lyanna's statue without having a single clue that she is actually his mother. So, we all know this is something Jon will find out next season when he finally returns to Winterfell and speaks with Bran. I know that this is one scene that I am highly anticipating. I imagine when Jon finds out, he will go down into the Crypts of Winterfell to see his mother's statue. They showed Jon walking past it as a tease, but I guarantee we will see Jon down here, standing in front of her statue, now knowing who he truly is. After Jon does pass her statue, we can see that the feather has fell from her hand onto the floor. And if you remember, that was the feather we saw Robert Baratheon place in her hand all the way back in the very first episode of the show. This will not be the last time we see the feather in the teaser, but let's move on to the next scene. Next, we can see Lady Sansa walking through the Crypts of Winterfell, and as she's walking, we can see her walk past her mother's statue. Then we can hear one of Lady Catelyn's quotes. She says, "All this horror that has come to my family." Catelyn said this during a conversation she was having with Robb Stark's wife, Talisa. This was when Catelyn was talking about Jon Snow. This was in reference to her saying that she could not find it in herself to love a motherless child. As we all know, when Ned brought Jon home, Catelyn hated him so much that she actually wanted him to die. But take a look at Jon now. He might end up saving House Stark from going extinct, so it's probably a good thing that Jon didn't end up dying as a baby. Anyways, another reason why I think they might have shown Sansa walk past her mother's statue is because Catelyn Stark was once the Lady of Winterfell, but now that title has moved on to her daughter, Sansa Stark. As I've said in some of my previous videos, I believe Sansa will continue to hold that title. Even though Jon might have been the King of the North, and even the King of the Seven Kingdoms, depending on how you want to look at it, I have a very good feeling Sansa will continue to have full control of Winterfell, while Jon focuses most of his energy on commanding the armies and hopefully protecting the castle. The next person we see in the teaser is Arya Stark, and it doesn't appear as if she's walking past any specific statues, but she is also down in the Crypts of Winterfell with Jon and Sansa. After they briefly show Arya, we go back to Jon, but this time he is standing in front of Ned Stark's statue. Then we can hear Ned say, "You are a Stark. You might not have my name, but you have my blood." This is yet again another reference to Jon Snow, and it's also another hint about Jon's parents. This is obviously one of the major themes throughout the final season. Now, as we all know, there are a lot of important characters in the show, but only one of them are the Song of Ice and Fire, and that is Jon Snow. So far, all the quotes that we have heard in the teaser are in reference to Jon. Not only is he the true heir to the Iron Throne, but Jon will most likely have to be the one to face the Night King in a 1 versus 1 battle till the death. It's quite clear that these two characters are drawn to each other for a reason, and if you've been watching most of my theory videos, then you would know exactly why the Night King has such an attraction to Halt Stark. But I will discuss this further here in a little bit. Let's move on to the next few images and the teaser. Now, I was actually surprised by the next part. This is when we see Jon, Arya, and Sansa all meet up in the center of the Crypts of Winterfell. This is the first time we have seen Jon and Arya in the same shot since the first season of the show. I was not expecting them to give us this reveal before the season started. This is one of the most highly anticipated reunions in the show, but they did give us a big taste of what's to come. Getting to see Jon and Arya standing next to each other is pretty damn cool, I must say. After they all meet up in the center, we then see them turn around where it is revealed that all three of them have statues made down there as well. Now, I know that some people could see this as foreshadowing their deaths. However, that is definitely something they would want us to think. We do know from the books that all future members of House Stark have empty tombs down there, but what's interesting about this is if you look at the statues, you can tell that they were freshly made. It does make me wonder what will happen to each of these characters, because there certainly is a possibility that all of them could die. We know that Winterfell is one of the Night King's targets, and this teaser even hints about his presence in the location. As Jon, Sansa, and Arya are looking at their statues, the cold air begins to creep into the Crypts of Winterfell. We even see Lyanna's feather one more time, only this time we can see that it freezes, which means that the Night King is definitely getting very, very close. But now I want to go into some tinfoil before we go any further. Could this also mean that something else is down there in the crypts? For many years, fans have speculated that perhaps the Night's Queen is locked up down there in one of the lowest levels. There is also a possibility that one of the previous Night Kings is kept down there as well. Not only are there a ton of connections between the Starks and the White Walkers, but there are also hints about what could be kept down there in some of the statues. In the very first book, Ned Stark has a dream, and what he sees down there is very interesting. This is what it says. He was walking through the crypts beneath Winterfell as he had walked 1,000 times before. The kings of winter watched him pass with eyes of ice, and the dire wolves at their feet turned their great stone heads and snarled. Now, I know it is a very short quote, but one thing that stands out to me is the description of their eyes. It says the kings of winter had eyes of ice. Now, who else do we know has eyes of ice? That would be the others or the White Walkers. This quote alone has always made me wonder who those kings of winter actually are. I tend to believe that at least one of them could be the former Night's King, who Old Nan did say was a member of House Stark. You also have to keep in mind, Winterfell was built right around the time that the Long Night ended. Before the castle was even built, the first thing that was established were the Crypts of Winterfell. Since their castle is called Winterfell, you have to ask yourself if that could be in reference to a King of Winter falling in that location. And by King of Winter, I am of course referring to a Night King. You also have to keep in mind that even the television show has hinted that there may have been more than one Night King over time. We know what the current Night King looks like, but we have also seen a painting in one of the caves on Dragonstone, and I think most people would agree that they do not look alike. This also lends to the theory that maybe you can't defeat the Night King, only replace him. So, going back to the teaser, what did the cold mist actually represent? Was that just simply a warning that the Night King was coming to Winterfell, or does it hint at something else being down there in the crypts? If there is something down there locked up in the lower levels, could that be what the Night King is coming after? Another thing it could be suggesting is perhaps those statues actually come alive and fight during the big battle in the north. There are also a bunch of hints about this in the books as well. Imagine if the Night King was able to raise all of the dead Starks below Winterfell. That would be absolutely terrifying, and I think it could be possible, but let's continue. So, as we see the mist rolling into the crypts, this is when Jon, Arya, and Sansa all turn around to see where it's coming from. As they turn around, we can see that Jon and Arya both pull out their swords. Now, as we all know, Sansa does not have a weapon, but what's interesting is Sansa is slightly standing behind Jon and Arya. It almost looks as if they're protecting her, kinda like her Queen's Guard at the moment. What makes this scene so cool is we actually see Jon and Arya standing side by side with their weapons drawn, ready to fight. This is an image I've been dying to see for so long, and we all knew this day would eventually come, and it is almost here, ladies and gentlemen. On April 14th, the first episode of the final season will premiere, and this is when we will get our official reunion with Jon and Arya. Then, in just a few short episodes by mid-season, we will actually see Jon and Arya have to defend Winterfell from an attack by the Night King. Now this is something we all knew would happen, or at least I did, because for over a year I have been telling you that the big battle against the Night King would take place in Winterfell. But what really intrigues me about the teaser is that damn mist down in the crypts. I seriously feel like it could mean so many different things and I don't even know where to begin, other than what I mentioned already. Like I said, I just watched the video 2 times before I started making this video immediately, and I will need to watch it a few more times, that way I can kinda let my thoughts digest a little bit. Hopefully I said a few things already that will spark a good conversation down in the comment section of the video. Let me know what you thought about the teaser. This one got me even more excited than the last one, but let me know what you think. Do you believe anything White Walker related is down in the Crypts of Winterfell, or do you think that the Night King could possibly raise all the dead Starks down below? Anyways, I want to thank you all for watching the video, I really appreciate that, and I also want to thank all of my Patreon members for supporting the channel through the long nights. I hope everyone has a great night. I will see you again very soon. Bye.